For most people today, a roof is something that feels temporary. You build it, you repair it, you patch it, you replace it. A good roof might last 15 years, maybe 20 if you're lucky, and even then, it comes with constant maintenance. Water leaks, cracks, rot, mold, and expensive repairs are just accepted as part of modern homeownership. But what if I told you that nearly 1,000 years ago, long before industrial tools, factories, or modern engineering degrees, medieval peasants, yes, peasants, knew how to build waterproof roofs that regularly lasted 50 years or more? And what if I told you that the methods they used weren't just simple, they were shockingly effective, environmentally friendly, and in many cases superior to the materials we use today? This is the strange story of how medieval villagers, armed with almost nothing but nature and patience, created roofs so durable that some of their techniques still survive on historical buildings today. Yet, modern engineering rarely talks about them. And not because the methods don't work, but because they don't fit neatly into the world of quick replacements, mass manufacturing, profit cycles, and expensive upkeep. So let's step back in time, walk into a medieval village, and learn what ordinary people knew about long-lasting waterproof roofs, and why those secrets quietly disappeared. Imagine a small medieval village at dawn. Mist floats over the fields, smoke rises gently from stone chimneys, and rows of timber-framed houses stand lined along the dirt road. At first glance, everything looks fragile and simple. But look closer. Those roofs, steep, thick, layered with natural materials, are not simple at all. Many of them, especially in Northern Europe, were built using a method so impressive that historians still marvel at how effective it was. These roofs weren't made to last a few decades. They were made to last generations. Take the classic thatched roof. Today, most people think of thatch as primitive or weak, something from fairy tales. But medieval peasants knew something modern homeowners don't. A properly built thatched roof is naturally waterproof, fire-resistant when treated correctly, incredibly insulating, and able to last half a century or more with almost no intervention. The secret wasn't the material alone, but the craftsmanship, the angle of the roof, the thickness of the layers, and the way water was guided to drip off before it could ever penetrate the inner structure. Thatching wasn't just throwing grass on a roof. It was a science. First, peasants would gather long-stemmed water reeds or wheat straw, not the short, fragile straw we see today. This straw was grown in ways that made it tough, dense, and flexible. They harvested it gently to avoid breaking the stems, because an unbroken stem is naturally waterproof. Water flows down it like it flows down a feather. The strength is built in by nature. And here's where their real genius appeared. They didn't flatten the straw or compact it tightly the way modern synthetic materials are compressed. Instead, they kept it loose, but layered, allowing rainwater to travel down the outer surfaces and fall off before ever reaching the wooden interior. A well-built thatch roof was so effective at shedding water that the rain almost danced off it. Layer after layer acted like scales on a fish, each one protecting the layer beneath. And because the materials breathed naturally, there was no condensation, no trapped moisture, no rot inside the roof. Modern materials often fail because they trap humidity, creating mold and degradation from within. But medieval peasants understood airflow intuitively. They had centuries of trial and error behind their designs, and nature itself validated their technique. And then there's the angle. If you ever see an old medieval building, you'll notice how steep the roofs are. That wasn't just for aesthetic charm. The steeper the angle, the faster water runs off, and the longer the roof lasts. Builders in that period often used a pitch of 45 to 60 degrees, much steeper than most modern houses. That steep angle was a built-in defense system. Heavy rain? Gone. Snow? Slid off before it built up. Moisture? Never had a chance to settle. But that's just one technique. Travel slightly south to the rolling hills of France, Germany, or Switzerland, and you'll find another ancient roofing method that routinely lasted 50 to 100 years. Wooden shingles made from split logs, not sawed timber. Modern shingles are cut with industrial saws, leaving open pores where water easily seeps in. But medieval peasants split their shingles along the grain. When wood is split naturally, it follows the grain lines, leaving the surface tight and waterproof. It's nature's seal, unbroken and strong. They used woods like oak, chestnut, cedar, and larch, trees whose oils resist insects and decay. A properly made split shingle roof could last decades without warping or absorbing water. Some historical buildings still have original medieval shingles in place because the technique was that good. The shingles weren't nailed flat either. They were overlapped in thick strategic layers, creating tiny air channels that allowed the roof to breathe. Once again, ventilation was the hidden key. The peasants might not have used modern technical terms, but they knew that a dry roof was a breathing roof. In mountainous regions, another method emerged: stone roofing. Thin, flat stones, softened slate, were stacked in overlapping patterns, held in place not with nails but with clever weight distribution. These roofs lasted not 50 years, but hundreds. Some medieval stone roofs are still alive today, untouched except for minor repairs. They are nearly waterproof, fireproof, and stormproof. They survived centuries of weather because medieval builders understood something we've forgotten. Durability is the enemy of profit. Build something too well, and nobody needs replacements. Travel northwest to Scandinavia, and you'll find sod roofs, thick layers of birch bark covered with living grass. At first, it sounds strange. Dirt, grass, on a roof. But birch bark is naturally waterproof, flexible, and incredibly tough. By layering strips of bark like shingles and weighing down with soil and grass, medieval builders created roofs that acted like natural insulators. The grass absorbed rainwater, slowed runoff, and protected the bark below. If well maintained, a sod roof could easily last 50 to 70 years. And unlike modern roofs that require chemical treatments, these were entirely natural and sustainable. Every region had its own version of the 50-year roof. And these techniques weren't rare, they were the standard. Peasants who lived with limited resources had no choice but to rely on systems that worked long-term. They couldn't run to a hardware store or hire expensive contractors. Their roofs had to last. So their craftsmanship became incredibly refined. Knowledge passed down through families. And each village maintained its own traditions, little pieces of engineering genius hidden within ordinary life. But the real question is, if medieval peasants figured out how to build roofs that lasted half a century, why don't we still use these techniques everywhere today? Why are modern roofs failing so quickly? One reason is industrialization. When large-scale manufacturing took over, the focus shifted from longevity to efficiency. Mass-produced shingles, asphalt materials, short lifespan roofing systems. They were cheaper to make, easier to transport, and easier to replace. But easier to replace also meant more profitable. A roof that lasts 50 years doesn't create steady business. A roof that needs replacement every 15 years does. Another reason is lifestyle. Modern homes are built for convenience and aesthetics, not lifespan. We want low angles, flat roofs, easy installation, and a sleek uniform look. But those designs don't shed water effectively. Low-angle roofs collect moisture, trap heat, and wear down faster. Medieval builders didn't choose steep roofs because they looked nice. They chose them because they worked. There's also the issue of materials. Modern farming changes the structure of straw. Modern logging changes the structure of wood. Short-stem crops, young trees, chemically treated lumber. These materials don't behave like the naturally grown resources medieval people used. They lack the density, oil content, and grain strength that older growth materials had. You can technically build a thatched roof today, but if the straw isn't grown the traditional way, it won't last the same 50 years. And then there's knowledge. Much of medieval roofcraft wasn't written down. It was hands-on. Apprentices learned by watching experts. Techniques like perfect overlapping straw bundles or the exact angle of a split shingle are extremely hard to describe in text. They're meant to be seen, touched, practiced. When industrial roofing took over, those skills slowly disappeared. In some places, Only a handful of thatchers remain who can build roofs the way they were built 700 years ago. But perhaps the most surprising reason these methods faded is perception. People began seeing medieval techniques as outdated, primitive, or old-fashioned. They assumed modern technology must be better. But progress doesn't always mean improvement. Sometimes progress just means faster or more profitable. And in the process, ancient wisdom gets pushed aside. Imagine a medieval cottage with its thick thatched roof, standing strong through storms, snow, wind, and time. The people who built that roof didn't have computers or textbooks. They had observation. They had patience. They had a deep understanding of nature's materials, what to gather, when to gather it, how to treat it, and how to build something that worked with the environment instead of fighting against it. They knew, for example, that reeds harvested in winter after the first frost were stronger and lasted longer. They knew that splitting wood along the grain preserved its waterproof qualities. They knew how to angle a roof so steep that rain would never linger. They knew how to create microventilation channels without ever using a fan or a vent pipe. And they didn't just build for themselves, they built for the next generation. When you look at medieval roofs that survived for centuries, you realize something profound. Durability was built into the culture. People took pride in craftsmanship. They built as if their work would outlive them, because it often did. Today, we're rediscovering some of this wisdom. Sustainable builders are bringing back split wood shingles. Eco-designers are studying thatch for its insulation and efficiency. Even architects are revisiting steep roof angles to solve modern moisture problems. But the truth is, everything we're rediscovering now is something medieval peasants already knew. They didn't need modern testing labs. Nature was their laboratory. And maybe that's the real lesson hidden in those 50-year roofs. Sometimes the smartest solutions aren't the newest ones. Sometimes the most durable materials aren't synthetic. Sometimes the best engineering isn't found in a factory, but in the quiet wisdom of people who lived close to the earth, who understood the rhythm of seasons, and who built things meant to last. So the next time you look at a medieval cottage with its thick, charming roof, remember that it's not just a piece of history. It's a reminder. A reminder that ancient knowledge still has value, that simple materials can outperform modern ones, and that engineering isn't always about complexity, it's about understanding. The peasants who built those roofs didn't think of themselves as engineers, but by every measure of design, durability, and sustainability, they were. But the story doesn't end with medieval peasants knowing how to make 50-year waterproof roofs. The deeper secret lies in why they knew these things, how they developed such impressive roofing systems without modern tools, and what principles they relied on that we still overlook today. To truly understand this, imagine standing with a medieval thatcher or carpenter on a cool autumn morning. He's preparing materials for a roof that he expects will still be standing long after he's gone. When he bundles the straw or splits the wood, he isn't just building a roof. He's building trust, stability, and security for the entire family living beneath it. He isn't rushing. He isn't cutting corners. He's working with a patience that feels almost foreign to the modern world. One of the greatest secrets of medieval building wasn't just the materials they used. It was their relationship with time. They understood that durability is not something created in a factory. Durability is a relationship between natural materials and the builder who respects them. A rushed roof leaks. A rushed roof sags. A rushed roof becomes a burden. But a roof made with patience becomes a shield. This mindset shaped every part of medieval construction. Long before engineers began calculating stress loads or moisture percentages, peasants learned through observation. They learned by watching how rain flowed down plants, how water beaded on bark, how wind moved through the forest, and how nature protected itself. If a plant shed water without absorbing it, they used that plant. If a tree resisted decay from inside, they used that tree. Nature was their teacher, and they listened carefully. Take birch bark, for example. To modern builders, bark seems flimsy. But to medieval Scandinavians, birch bark was a miracle material. Each layer contains natural oils called betulin, making it waterproof, flexible, and resistant to fungus. By stacking multiple layers of birch bark, each offset to cover the seams, they created a waterproof membrane stronger than many modern synthetic alternatives. They didn't invent birch bark's properties. They observed them, understood them, and respected them enough to use them without forcing nature into something unnatural. The same principle applied to reeds used in thatching. Reeds naturally grow in water, so it's no surprise that they repel water. But medieval thatchers didn't use just any reed. They harvested at the right season, the exact right height, and from areas where the soil produced tougher stems. They let the reeds mature before cutting them, ensuring a rich silica coating that made the surface glossy and water-resistant. If the reed cracked or bent at the wrong angle, they rejected it. Every bundle was selected with the same care an artist selects his paintbrushes. And the craftsmanship didn't stop there. Each reed was laid at just the right angle, packed to just the right density. Too loose, and wind could blow through. Too tight, and water could get trapped. Modern engineers call this optimized permeability. Medieval builders simply called it common sense. They tested roofs by spraying water from buckets, watching how the droplets behave. If the water ran off smoothly, the thatch was good. If it lingered or dripped through, they adjusted the layers. This hands-on testing created a feedback loop between builders and materials. Today, technology often separates us from our materials. We rely on measurements, sensors, and lab reports. But medieval craftsmen relied on their senses: touch, sight, sound. A skilled thatcher could run his hand through a bundle of straw and instantly know if it would last 50 years or rot in 5. He could hear the sound of wind passing through a roof and tell whether the thatch was too loose or too tight. This level of sensitivity is something modern builders rarely practice, not because they lack skill, but because the construction world has changed. Everything today is standardized, pre-packaged, industrially produced. The personal relationship between builder and material has largely disappeared. Another lost piece of wisdom is the way medieval people designed their homes as ecosystems. A roof wasn't just a shield. It was part of a larger system of airflow, insulation, and structure. They didn't seal houses airtight the way we do now. Instead, they allowed subtle airflow to travel through the roof and walls, which naturally dried moisture. This prevented mold, rot, and decay without using chemicals or expensive ventilation systems.